You're standing at a butcher counter, and there it is, a cut of wild boar. Dark, marbled, a little wild looking under the glass. Maybe it's a specialty restaurant. Maybe a hunting buddy dropped a package on your porch, wrapped in white paper, still cold. And some quiet part of you hesitates. You've eaten pork your whole life. Bacon, sausage, ribs, chops. Same animal, more or less. A pig is a pig. So why does boar feel different? Why does a small voice in the back of your skull whisper, maybe not this one? Most people blame the taste. Too gamey, too strong. They think it's a preference thing, a texture thing, a personal quirk. It isn't. Because underneath that hesitation is a machine older than language, older than farming, older than fire. A machine your ancestors built out of dead bodies and bad luck over hundreds of thousands of years. And it's still running, right now, inside you. The answer is not what you think. Here's the story you've been told. Wild boar is just pork that never got domesticated. It's leaner, darker, stronger in flavor. And if you don't like it, that's culture. That's your palate. That's what your grandmother did or didn't cook. Simple, comfortable, and almost completely wrong. Because your hesitation around wild boar isn't a food opinion. It's a threat assessment. For nearly all of human history, meat wasn't a product. It was a gamble. Every animal you put in your mouth was a coin flip between calories and death. And wild pigs sat at the exact center of that danger. They eat anything. Rot, carcasses, feces, mud, the sick and the dead. They are walking sponges for whatever is wrong with the land around them. Your body knows this. Not consciously, not in words. It knows it the way you flinch from a spider before you've decided the spider is dangerous. That flinch is the point, because the difference between a pig on a farm and a boar in the woods isn't flavor. It's what's living inside the meat. And your ancestors paid, in bodies, to learn the difference. The illusion says this is taste. The reality says this is survival. Here's the truth this whole video is going to prove. Wild boar isn't dangerous because it's wild. It's dangerous because a wild pig's entire biology is designed to collect, concentrate, and store the exact things that have been killing humans for 100,000 years. And your instinct to hesitate is the fossil of every ancestor who didn't. The first driver is the parasite. Wild boar is one of the most reliable carriers of a worm called trichinella. Here's how it works. The larvae live coiled inside the muscle, invisible, waiting. You eat the meat undercooked. The worms wake up in your gut, mature, and release thousands of new larvae that burrow through your bloodstream and bury themselves in your muscle tissue, your diaphragm, sometimes the muscles around your heart and eyes. Even tasting small amounts of such meat while it's raw or undercooked puts you at risk for infection with trichinella worms. A single infected boar has caused entire outbreaks. In Belgium in 2014, several batches of imported wild boar meat were recalled, and the public health investigation identified clustered undiagnosed cases. Picture that worm map inside your own chest. Your ancestors couldn't see it. They only saw who got sick. But here's where it gets stranger. The second danger isn't a worm at all. It's a virus that hides in the one organ people prize most, hepatitis E. Wild boar liver is a delicacy in dozens of cultures, and it's also a viral reservoir. In one survey of wild boar in Umbria, Italy, during the 2021 to 2022 hunting seasons, 78 out of 179 wild boar liver samples tested positive for the virus, a rate of 43.6%, nearly half. And this isn't theoretical. Researchers in Japan documented the first direct evidence of foodborne hepatitis E transmission from a wild boar to a human. The global toll is staggering. Hepatitis E causes an estimated 3.4 million acute cases, 70,000 deaths, and 3,000 stillbirths per year. Your ancestors had no word for a virus. They just knew some meat turned your eyes yellow and killed you. Now here's the one your body's been hiding from you, because there's a third danger, and it's the one no instinct could ever have prepared us for. But before we get to it, understand this. Even the two dangers you've just heard don't explain the full picture, not even close. So why does your body react before your brain even finishes the thought? Why the flinch, the wrinkle of the nose, the quiet no? The answer is a single ancient program with a name: disgust. Not distaste, disgust. They're different systems. The psychologist who mapped this, Paul Rozin at the University of Pennsylvania, spent decades proving it. Rozin coined the term the omnivore's dilemma, the question of how a creature that can eat anything decides what's safe to put in its mouth. A koala eats one thing, a rat eats everything, and so do you. That freedom is a death trap without a filter, and disgust is the filter. Rozin argued that disgust appeared as a defense against toxins and infective agents, because many foods can kill you without revealing that they're spoiled, and so we evolved to feel repulsion toward things that are decaying. Here's the elegant, brutal part. Wild pigs eat carrion, rot, the dead, the exact substances that trigger core disgust the hardest. So an animal that spends its life eating everything you're wired to fear becomes itself a thing to fear. The ancestors who lacked that reflex ate the rotting boar, caught the worm, drank the virus, and died before they had children. You are descended from the flinchers, every single one. That nose wrinkle is a graveyard. It's the sum of everyone who didn't have it. But here's the part that breaks the rule. We eat pork. Constantly. Same species, essentially. Sus scrofa domesticated is just a wild boar that stopped being wild. So why does the instinct switch off for bacon? Here's what that means. The disgust system was never actually about the animal. It was about the risk profile. And humans found a loophole so powerful it rewrote our entire relationship with pigs. Control. When you raise a pig in a pen, you control what it eats. No carrion, no infected forest fungi, no random carcasses. Modern regulations on raising commercially farmed pigs and cooking guidelines have helped to lower the risk of trichinellosis. You strip out the danger, and the disgust quiets down, which reveals the deeper logic perfectly. Your ancestors weren't afraid of pigs. They were afraid of uncontrolled diets, unknown histories, and meat with a past they couldn't verify. Domestication was a 10,000-year hack to make a disgusting animal safe. The wild boar is what pork looks like with the safety switch removed, and your gut still knows the difference. Look at how consistent this logic is across the world and across time. In the United States, trichinellosis is now rare precisely because of that domestication hack. The CDC records only about 15 confirmed cases per year. The danger didn't vanish, it got fenced in, but it never left the wild. In Iowa, a wild boar hunted at a game farm sparked a documented outbreak, and investigators concluded that cross-contamination during processing of the meat, rather than undercooked meat, was the exposure that led to the outbreak. Just handling it was enough. In central Italy, undercooked boar is cultural heritage, and the price is written in the data. In Italy, consumption of raw or undercooked wild boar meat, sausages, and liver products is considered a major risk factor for hepatitis E infection in humans. In Germany, between 2013 and 2015, researchers found hepatitis E genotype 3 in the organs and muscle of a high percentage of wild boars, indicating a real risk of foodborne infection. The forest keeps the ledger. And then there's the strangest chapter of all, the one nobody predicted. In Bavaria, some wild boars are now so contaminated that the country has ruled them unsafe to eat. In some cases, the Bavarian boars are several hundred times more radioactive than what's considered safe for human consumption. A modern instinct confirming an ancient one. Cross-cultural, cross-continental, always the same verdict. And that radioactive twist deserves its own reveal, because it exposes the mechanism behind everything. In 2023, a team led by radioecologist Georg Steinhauser, working with researchers at Leibniz University Hanover and published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology, cracked what scientists call the wild boar paradox. Here's the puzzle. After Chernobyl, radiation faded in most animals. In boars, it didn't. Their samples ranged up to 15,000 becquerels per kilogram, exceeding the regulatory limit by a factor of up to 25. Why? Because of what boars eat. They love to dig up deer truffles from underground, and radioactive cesium accumulates in these subterranean mushrooms with a long delay, migrating downward through the soil sometimes only about 1 millimeter per year. The boar digs down to the exact depth the poison has reached, and the fingerprint stunned everyone. While about 90% of the cesium in Central Europe comes from Chernobyl, in the wild boar samples, a large proportion is attributable to nuclear weapons testing, up to 68% in some samples. Bombs from 60 years ago, still in the meat. Now, here's where this reaches into your actual life. That Bavarian boar isn't an oddity. It's a demonstration of the exact mechanism your instinct evolved to fear. An animal that concentrates the invisible dangers of its environment into its own flesh and passes them to you. It's the same reason you're told to limit tuna and swordfish. Biomagnification means the concentration of substances like heavy metals increases at each step up the food chain, so talc predators end up with higher toxin loads than the animals they eat. The boar does this on land, with fungi, with fallout, with rot. Every time you read a mercury warning on a can, every time you hesitate over game meat, every time you cook pork to a specific temperature without knowing why, you're running the same program. Not caution, not culture, just an ancient calculation about what a body has been storing. Your ancestors ran it with a nose wrinkle. You run it with a food label. Same machine. So go back to that butcher counter, the boar under the glass, the hesitation you couldn't explain. Now you can. It's the worm coiled in the muscle. It's the virus hiding in the liver. It's the disgust reflex built from 1 million dead ancestors. It's the domestication hack that made pork safe and left boar wild. It's the fungi eaten at exactly the wrong depth. It's the bomb from 60 years ago, still glowing quietly in the meat. You thought it was taste. It was never taste. It was a warning written into your body by everyone who ate the wrong pig and didn't live to regret it. The animal collects the danger. You inherited the fear, and the fear was always right.